right, guys. Well, welcome to our first edition of Coffee Talk at our respective homes. We're in unique times, but we're still continuing with our work. I know I talked to Kobi Karp today. He's one of our guests, and he was full speed ahead with permits and everything else. And we have one of his clients, the legendary Sam Nazarian, famous for his SBE hotels and so many other things. But he's probably going to be remembered for his Sammy's Crispy Chicken, which I know he didn't time to come out at the same time as the coronavirus, but it works out perfect because it's the delivery of chicken sandwiches and fries and everything that's delicious to your homes. You're in the hotel business in a major way, and I know you had your big expansion flow in the last year. Every time I see that you're somewhere in the world opening up a new hotel, I'm sure you saw the major hotel CEOs and chairmen meet with Donald Trump and the administration this week. And Marriott was saying they have 15% occupancy right now, 15% occupancy. Normally, if they have a 10% vacancy, they panic. Right now, they're at 15% occupancy. They're claiming that roughly 4.5 million people are going to be out of a job, right? Or they're going to be furloughed or whatever you want to call it. How are you guys dealing with it in the hospitality business?
We have a different perspective. Obviously, being a global company, we operate in 9 countries. Every one of our hotels are either closed or closing. It is catastrophic from a perspective of the employees, the line level employees, the hourly employees. We have roughly 11,000 people within our system. We are looking at this very, very closely because we have now close to 7,000 employees in the US that cannot come to work.
Out of literally all of them cannot come to work. I mean, how many of them are essential employees that you need for?
Well, there's the essential piece of it, and there's the reality, right? The reality is our owners are shutting hotels down. In some cases, we're shutting down because it's not safe for the employees to come to work. You know, it's not safe for them. They cannot come. Their kids are out of school. Their kids need to be taken care of, you know, in a traditional sense. But the 15 million people that are literally in small business, in the hotels, in the restaurants, in the bars, in the clubs, you know, this is going to be catastrophic for a tremendous amount of them. And what I'm doing now, and I'm sorry, a little casual, but literally our teams here, we're working on how to get them food, how to get them essentials, bare essentials. We're working with all of our vendors who are delivering right now. But as of last night, midnight, the mayor of Los Angeles and subsequently the governor of California, Governor Newsom, basically shut the state down for the first time ever. You know, we are still delivering food. We are still doing pickups. People can still leave their houses for those things. You know, when you know a hurricane's coming, you know, the city shuts down and you shut down for a month and people deal with it. We're having that kind of fear around the world in every city at one time. Right. And it is something that I think from an anxiety perspective, whether we're overdoing it, underdoing it, that is yet to be seen. Luckily, I'm looking at deaths. I'm not looking at cases. I'm looking at how many people are actually, unfortunately, tragically dying. And right now in the US, we're, as of Friday at, 12 o'clock Pacific or 11:30 Pacific, we're about 200 and some odd deaths out of, the 330 million people. So that to me is encouraging. There are some cases that we're seeing right now, different types of malaria drugs, different types of combination with Z-Pack.
There's a lot of hopeful drugs and solutions coming out. Thinking about the swine flu of 2009, and that killed over 500,000 people. I feel like those things happen sort of under the radar. They happened, they were headline news, but we didn't have the reaction that we're having to this.
Yeah, we had something that affected Southern Florida and almost put us out of business in Southern Florida for almost 2 years, which was Zika. I remind I speak to our employees, I speak to our team members, our GMs, our managers, our GMs of hotels every day, reminding them that this will pass. And from an economic perspective, it's one thing, but how are these, what I'm interested in and really what we're working around the clock. And I say because our hotels in Doha are closed. We have 2 hotels opening in Dubai this year that will open, one on the Palm, one is 76-story SLS. We continue to be building our hotels in South Korea and Seoul. That we just got approval to open in July.
Right.
We're opening in Buenos Aires. That got pushed back. SLS.
I'm guessing all the construction is being pushed back. There is no.
In certain markets, Mexico right now has not been affected, or at least has not shown any severe cases. I think it's the last number I saw was 300 for the country of Mexico.
I also think when people come out with those numbers, they haven't done the proper testing, throughout. And I think that's the same. That's the same for the U.S. as well. To be honest with you, until testing's available, we really don't know the damage that this thing is going to leave. Kobi, you designed Sam's hotel, the SLS hotel in Miami, and you guys have done several other projects together. But what I really want to know, Kobi, when we spoke earlier this week, you said you're full speed ahead. You're getting your permits through while you can, and your clients are actually asking you to push things along, which is sort of the opposite of what we're hearing from a lot of other people who are saying, we're going to pull back, we're going to slow down, we're going to find out how this thing is going to turn out. Let us know about what your week's been like.
Look, this is a very unique time we're in. It is time of trials and tribulation. Sammy is a very dear friend and client. We are working for him specifically on the SLS. But look, we live in unique times, and some people said, this is World War III that will last 3 months. And some people look at it and say, we still keep on going. The mayor of Miami-Dade County issued an order whereby people who are in the construction business are exempted and are able to work.
That exemption also applies in New York for now, but if you see what's happening in Boston and in California, I feel like we're next in line for stop on construction as well.
You're probably 100% correct. We do not have clients come to the office. We don't have vendors coming to the office. We don't have suppliers coming to the office. So
are materials still getting delivered to your construction sites right now?
Yes, the construction is still going on and the materials are still being delivered. And work for us here as architects and engineers is going on as normal.
How are you thinking that your designs are going to be different going forward as a result of this? I mean, obviously, one of the things that I heard today, I was talking to some of the leaders in the commercial landlords, and they were saying, density in co-working spaces is at some of the highest. Is that going to change co-working, because they have such a high density in those co-working office floors? But for you and your designs, for the hotels that you design, for the offices that you design, how are those things going to be impacted? How are your designs going to be impacted in the future?
The designs that are being impacted right now is actually interesting because my clients are more attentive to when we make suggestions. Instead of coming into your front door of your building and having to open it up, it will just open up automatically. And we have that technology. I can have it controlled by my retina. I can have it controlled by my eye. People look at it as though it's security, but it's also, it's a service. You can be handicapped. You can be somebody carrying a child. And instead of opening the door, it'll open up automatically.
Just by you looking at your door, it opens up.
And that is simple technology that we have these days, which really even, my office has the thumb.
Yeah.
You don't need that. Today we have the retina, we have the voice, we have the facial recognition. We don't need to be touching things. And it's not just the doors and the entries, it's everything. It's the refrigerator, it's your cabinet. Everything that you touch, we have it in cars where you have sensors, you have foot sensors, you have motion sensors, and they open up. So I see that becoming part of the norm.
It's 2020, right? That's
yeah, but we as architects and designers today, I'm seeing the community working together more so than ever before, and people being together. People need to be together. People desire to be together, and they will be together again. Mm-hmm. It's just that right now we're separated from each other, but we will be together again. It's part of what we do. It's just going to be a much, much safer environment.
Right.
Everything from the mechanical ventilation to the way we touch things.
Sam, I know you didn't plan this Sammy's Chicken in advance, but the timing on it couldn't have been. The timing on it was perfect. You guys, you want to explain how that works? Because now food delivery is key, and you created this sort of a kitchen that the only service it has is to deliver food. So you want to explain to us how that works, and if you plan on expanding on the menu?
Sure. Well, about a year ago, we started seeing in our restaurants delivery really becoming not just a nice to have, but a real driver of revenue. Obviously, we all have our favorite delivery sources in the East Coast. You have Seamless.
Can you let us know some of the restaurants that you own?
Sure. We have brands like Katsuya, Clio. We have brands like Filia, Karp. We have a total of, on the F&B side, close to 27 full-service brands. And what we started doing a year ago, closer, was delivery, growing at 40% year over year. And so when we saw those numbers staggering, we saw them in our own restaurants staggering, we saw the cost of labor going up, we saw basically the cost to build standalone restaurants to go up, like our umami brands and so forth and so on, we started making a really big push into delivery and basically the ghost kitchen or virtual kitchen business. And we launched a platform called C3. C3 basically stands for creating culinary communities, but it's
by the way, it's the only company you own that doesn't have your name or your wife's name or your daughter's name. I'm very excited. It's a new era.
So the idea and the thinking behind it then, and even more relevant today, and Sam's Crispy Chicken, as you mentioned, is a brand we happened to launch last week, which was a virtual brand. But we have now 15 brands. These are embedded within ghost kitchens around the country. We partnered, and David Simon and Simon Properties invested within this platform a year ago. Accor Hotels were invested in this platform. And the idea is to relook at the way in which people are eating, how the food is getting to them. The overall thinking is ghost kitchens are revolutionizing in which real estate. So we're re-looking at real estate in malls. We're re-looking at parking structures. We're looking at restaurants that have kitchens that are dormant, hotels, in-room dining. This will literally transcribe the whole in-room dining business in hotels. Instead of just having a bad menu from your hotel, now that same kitchen can be repurposed with 5 brands, and then you can start delivering not just to the rooms, but to the community as a revenue source for our hotel owners. So this is a very big idea. We launched it a year ago. It just so happens that I went on Fox Business a couple of days ago, and we talked about the launch of Sam's Crispy in the whole coronavirus case. But one of the things I would just add to your last question to the most amazing designer and architect, Mr. Karp, is that then you touched it on at the end there, Kobi, is how do we shut down when people get contaminated? When a worker comes in who has a corona virus or got tested, what we have now working with Accor, who's our partner, ventilation, how do we shut quarantine areas down faster? How do our in-room services, our house people, our cleaning folks, how do they have the right tools to be able to clean surface areas? Where it's not necessarily about people being together, because you know what, the population is growing. Everything's being designed now for pod style hotels, hotels that are limited service. That business is growing. What we need to do better as an industry is now figure out when the next pandemic happens, which it will, how quickly can we shut down areas that are affected? And a lot of this is airborne, so it's not necessarily what you touch. And how do we get areas within buildings, within floors, within areas where employees are eating, that are touching laundry facilities.
You shut down certain areas of hotels, offices, or whatever. Is that even capable? Are we capable of that right now?
We shut down the floors. We shut down the real estate. But some of these buildings, as you know, and Kobi knows, in Miami Beach, we have 11 hotels and either open or being built. Some of these hotels were built in the 30s and 40s. How are we able to deal with the ventilation? How can, SARS actually, when SARS grew, it grew when somebody from China went to Hong Kong. If you've seen some of these documentaries, and went up in a hotel in Hong Kong, and 11 people that were staying in that floor below it, above it, and across were actually affected because of the ventilation system. Right. So, these viruses are going to continue to evolve. We as an industry need to also be ready to aim with new buildings. Let's not just make them environmentally, green. Let's make them, given the ability of people and engineers and architects to Kobi's level, to start thinking about if we need to shut something down fast where air doesn't become our enemy, or the circulation of air doesn't become our enemy. Because that to me is where you're dealing with scale of things going out fast. An office building that has, 30,000 people in it, and somebody gets sick, it gets in the ventilation. How are we stopping that where we can actually shut down the ventilation systems? That is what will spread something very fast.
What do you think?
And that's what I'm focused on. On the hotel side, on the restaurant side, how do we take to the next level of cleanliness where we're dealing?
I'm sorry, I want give Kobi an opportunity to respond to what you just said. Kobi, are we capable of doing that now, or is that something that's going to come into newer buildings and in the future?
We are capable of doing it now. We are doing it now in various hospitals and in various facilities. The control of air traffic, ventilation within a public building, and also within the ducting system, we have today an ability to clean and filter the air. And not only clean and filter, but when we do have, like you mentioned, contamination, we have an ability to take that contamination and fight it in the air. That sort of filtration cleaning system is where we are going. The technology now is catching up to it to become part of our future of how to save our life and how to be a healthier individual. We are just now starting to understand what it is that we are breathing on a daily basis that we need to filter out and really bring it back to the natural environment that exists outside.
After the swine flu of 2009, that had major impact. It was far more fatal than this was, and it killed, obviously killed a lot of people.
I'll give you a specific example. I've been a resident of the Emirates since 2005. Before I get my visa, before I get my residency, I must go to the clinic, which is the hospital. And we all stand in line, whether you're an architect or you are from Pakistan and you are a banker, or whether you are a construction person from China and Bangladesh, you must go through the blood and urine and swab every part of your body to make sure that you are clean in order to enter the country.
I think from my perspective, if you look at certain countries, when I travel to the Middle East or when I travel to Asia or Hong Kong, they're constantly testing you. When you're going through. They have infrared, they know if you're sick, they know if you have a fever, that there's a level of human right violations that are tolerable in those countries. As you know, we come from Iran where there is no human rights. But in that particular case, when you're going through Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, they're constantly looking at you behind the scenes, but they're looking at you. In the US, this is the first time, this is a lockdown in the state of California. 50 million people are locked down. Now, they're not going to arrest you if you go outside. They're not going to give you a ticket, but we have to be ready as a society if we want these things to be controlled. And people say, well, why did South Korea? Why did the curve flatten so quickly? Because they mandated certain things. Yes. In Israel, you talk about terrorism. In Israel, they will actually, they will go after certain targeted people. It's not random testing. That's why they, are able to stop so much terrorism. And it's not fair, but you know what? That's what they do to do it. Same thing here in the U.S. If we want the level of accountability and transparency that Kobi's talking about in restaurants, in hotels, in people that are touching our food, touching our children, touching our sheets that are going in our beds, we have to be ready to give up some of our liberties, because if we're going through airports and someone is coming up and putting a thermometer to your head with a laser, you may not be okay with that. You may have not been okay with that a month ago, but you may expect it going, a month from now. 9/11 changed a lot of that from our perspective, right? From our security. We tolerated it more. Where people are opening up everything and you can't take this and that. This will be the 9/11 for the health industry and for our health, consciousness, I believe. And I think this has shaken up everybody. It's touched everybody equally, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, it's going to affect everybody the same. And we have to be ready, from operators to designers to architects to people in the media like you, that everybody has to be ready for this.
It's been out for 3 weeks now. It's been almost 3 weeks or so, however long it's been here that we're dealing with it. But it's really hit. I feel like it's really sunk in this week. Like this week is when things started to shut down. There's there's mandates coming in from the governors.
We started feeling this 4 weeks ago, not from a business. We started seeing pace fall off. We started seeing, our hotels in London, get dead, all of them. But what we are concerned about is not business right now. We're concerned about the humanity of the individuals who cannot work, are not going to get a check, and have no way of getting, if a business goes down, those employees can go work for another business, right? They can go get a job. Right now, it's all going to be the pressure of trying to sign up for unemployment, which you're going to see a huge spike, and already we've seen, but it's going to be a massive spike. You're going to see literally, from my perspective, operators like me who are doing far and beyond. We're having huge baskets of food, care baskets, water. All of our vendors are coming in. We're giving them money for gas. And I know for bigger operators, it's different. For smaller operators, it's different. We have the capability of giving our employees, we're paying them to sit at home right now, but there's only so much I can do. There's only so much any company can do.
Right now, nobody's laid off from SBE. Everybody's on payroll right now?
We have furloughed some of our staff, but we've paid them, and we're actually far and beyond. If you look at the nightlife and restaurant and lifestyle space, we're far above anybody else. We're also giving them supplemental benefits by giving them food. We're giving them olive oil, we're giving them pasta, we're giving them rice, things they can't really find right now in the supermarkets. Like I said, water. All of our vendors, all of our partners are chiming in, from Impossible Meats to Evian. I mean, there's a list of it. We have a GoFundMe page that's getting set up right now that I'm personally giving a huge amount of money to, that all of our clients who have been our clients for 20 years can go and help.
We'll share that GoFundMe link with us, and we'll put it on this video, at the bottom of this video, so people.
I will. Thank you.
Guys, Kobi, Sam, any final thoughts and any words of encouragement?
Yeah, for me, it's very simple. I think that it's one day at a time, but ultimately we will survive. We'll overcome this. This is a great learning experience. I think it has brought the world together closer than we've ever been. I think that now we really, really, really understand how close we are, and we really understand how very tight we all are.
And this reminds me of 9/11. You know, in 9/11, I was in Brooklyn, and I never saw people come together the way they did after that. It gives you a lot of hope in humanity when we're all in something together. Like everybody really comes together.
And this is even more so. This really brings the whole East, West, North, South, everybody together so much more. And with this technology that we have, with the social, it's so much better.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. Sam, any final thoughts from you?
I mean, listen, I think, we were tracking this both from a scientific side and also obviously from the humanity side and from the personal side as well. The only thing I'd urge people to do is not, there's a level of hysteria and there's a level of reality. And I think right now we're seeing, this thing teetering on both. The death count is very, very minimal. Based off of the cases we do know, of 14,000, 15,000 today, we have less than 220 people dead. If the case is made that there's 500,000 people that are affected, there's still 220 people. So I just want people to put it in context, to adhere to all the recommendations the CDC and everyone's doing, but keep in mind that from our perspective, that we're dealing with 15 million workers right now in our industry that, as of yesterday, could not provide for themselves. And really, if you can, not just to our businesses or to the restaurants that you frequent, to the places you go, try to support them, because last thing you want to do is have these people literally go unfed or have any aspect of way to take care of them. So we're trying to look at the humanity side of this more than just kind of the virus itself, because as Kobi said, this is something that is bringing us together. Unfortunately, unlike 9/11, Amir, as you remember, we could come together.
Yeah.
We cannot come together physically, and it's the virtualness of even this interview, which is so important that you're doing, and I was so proud to be invited alongside Kobi to be on it. Is the reality is social media has brought us together, but we're right now, putting the virus aside, the loneliest we've ever been as a community, as a society. It's not because I wanted to create this business. It's because that's just how people are going. They're staying home, they're binging on Netflix, they're watching YouTube over and over again. The kids, the generational aspects of it, our community, our way of life is changing. And unfortunately, that's the reality of it, and that's where we're at today.
There's some new realities after sort of every tragedy and travesty that we go through. But guys, thank you so much for participating, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye, Kobi. Shabbat shalom.
Bye.